Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatana Shrunvannuti Sadanam Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Dear friends, we were reading the 26th shloka of 10th Adhyaya in the last class. We just read the shloka and even explanation is not over. So I think we can reread it. We'll read the shloka. Ashvathas sarva vrukshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo munihi. So we have been saying that Vedanta, it accepts such certain degree of reality to the world which we see. Though Vedanta says only Brahma Satyam and Jagan Mithya at an absolute level, at a very practical level it also accepts the sort of say temporary or sort of tentative reality for this world also. And it also realizes the fact that a human being needs some sort of thing called religion, some sort of emotional content, some sort of emotional crutch, some sort of say some alambana, some sort of support for meditation, what is called Dhyana alambana. Alambana means a sort of support. So he needs some sort of support basing on which he can do some contemplation and then basing on which he can reach the higher thing. So for that reason, we have in this whole chapter we have been seeing that Lord Krishna is explaining the Yogam and Vibhuti. What is the reality and what are all the manifestations? Yogam is that Swarupam and this Vibhuti is the Rupam. So these two things he has been explaining. And Vibhuti, we saw that all these things are manifestations of the really powerful, mighty, say highly virtuous say appearances of the Lord. These are all examples of great virtue. All these people whom we are talking about, they are all not only physical, known for their physical strength, etc., but also for their virtue. All the characters which we have seen, all the people are say such excellent say pieces whom the human beings have been say emulating for centuries and even millennia, because our Puranas are several a few thousands of years old. So all these characters are found in the Puranas only. So we have been seeing, we are in that process. We are in that process of seeing various characters whom we come across in our Puranas. So we have seen some characters in the earlier shlokas. This shloka again, it is talking about some such thing. It is talking about this among the trees, it is talking about Ashvatha. I think this one particular line I explained in the last class, Ashvatha and also Narada. The story of Narada in brief I told you, I need not repeat. Ashvatha also I told you, Nashvaha tishtati iti Ashvatha. That is, it gets destroyed the moment you realize yourself. That is, Nashvaha tishtati, which means it does not exist tomorrow. Nashvaha, Shvaha means tomorrow. Nashvaha tishtati, it will not exist tomorrow. Which means, tomorrow does not mean tomorrow only. Tomorrow means the very moment you realize yourself, the moment you get that self-knowledge, then the very moment the tree called samsara, it disappears. So we saw about this in Kathopanishad also. Urdhvamulo avakshakaha yeshoshvatha sanatanaha. We saw that thing. So this is that Ashvatha tree which we are seeing. So that Ashvatha Vruksha and also Narada, these two I explained. The second line we have to see, Gandharvanam Chitra Rathaha. Among these Gandharvas, Gandharva are a particular divine category. Yaksho Gandharva Kinnaraha, that's what Amarakosha says. Vidyadharaha Apsaraha Yaksho Raksho Vidyadharo Apsaro Yaksha Raksho Gandharva Kinnaraha. So Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Yakshas, Rakshasas, Vidyadharas, there are so many categories of the divine beings. So this Gandharva, the speciality of these Gandharvas is that they are all the divine musicians in a very loose sense, if we want to say. So, in fact, from that word Gandharva only the word Gandharvam has come into existence. Gandharvam, do you know what is Gandharvam? Gana Gandharva we say. Gandharva is the art, that music, that particular say discipline called music. That is Gandharvam it is called, because it is derived from these Gandharvas. The Gandharvas are supposed to be the divine musicians, and they are also known to be very powerful people in war. So that is how this Chitraratha is one character whom we come across in Mahabharata also. Mahabharata, in that Vanaparva, there is one particular chapter in one particular part called Vanaparva, where all these people they go to say the forest, all the Pandavas. At that time, this Duryodhana, along with his big retinue, he goes to the forest basically to show his pomp, just to show his pomp to these Pandavas, who are in a rather miserable state. They have lost their kingdom, and then they have lost all their wealth, and then they are now in the woods. So Duryodhana comes there with a great say pomp, and in order to just display his pomp and splendor. There he gets captured by this Gandharva called Chitraratha. So there he say this Chitraratha defeats all the Kauravas, and then he captures them and takes away. Then that fact comes to be known by Dharmaraja. So Dharmaraja sends Arjuna to say get all those Kauravas released. So he goes and he has a fight with that Chitraratha, and then he defeats that Chitraratha, and then that Chitraratha releases all those Gandharvas. So this is one character. Apart from that, there are some other stories also about this Chitraratha. There is what is called a Vaishya Puranam. In that Vaishya Puranam, of course I have not read it. I am told there is a Puranam called Vaishya Puranam, in which Chitraratha is one particular character, who is the main character there. This is what was told by one Vedanta teacher in his class. Of course, these are not in the notes. So, Chitraratha, if we go into the mythology and all that, you will find several characters. But one important character whom we find is that Mahabharata, which I mentioned. Then the last one is Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Among the Siddhas, I am that Kapila Muni. Siddha, the meaning given is, Shankaracharya himself gives that meaning. Janmanaiva dharmajnana vairagya aishwarya atishayam praptanam. So that is those who have got say this Brahma Jnana, those who have got their this Atma Jnana or Brahma Jnana right from the time of birth. It is Siddha. There is no question of Sadhya. For all of us it is Sadhyam. Sadhyam means we have to make effort and attain it. For them it is Siddha. It is already there. You know the difference between Sadhyam and Siddham. There is what is called a sadhanam. Sadhanam means an instrument by which you achieve something. Sadhyam is that thing, object which you are going to achieve with the help of this sadhanam. Siddham means something which is attained. So these are siddhas, means those by birth they have attained that say that knowledge of the self. That is because of their purva krutam and whatnot. And then maybe why then a question may arise. If these people have got self-knowledge, they should not have rebirth. But Vedanta also says there are certain examples of people who come for the welfare of humanity. They are siddhas. All these people are siddha purushas. But then they do take birth for the welfare of humanity. So that sort of convention also is there. So very rarely, very rarely you come across such names. Maybe half a dozen names we see like this in our entire Puranic lore. So anyway, this Siddhanam, among those Siddhas, I am this Kapilaha Munihi. Kapila, again there are 2-3 different Kapilas. We know of one Kapila who is the propounder of the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy we know. We have off and on we have been discussing, right from chapter 2, we have been discussing what is called Sankhya. Sankhya in Gita is different from Sankhya philosophy of Kapila Muni. Sankhya which we find here is Samyak Khyayate Anena Atmajnanamiti Sankhyam. This is what we told in the second chapter of Gita. Samyak Khyayate Atmatattvamanena iti Sankhyan. That is, that by which this knowledge of the self is properly explained, that is what is called Sankhya. So that is why that particular chapter 2 is called Sankhya Yoga, which tells about the Atmajnanam. So that is the meaning of Sankhya here. Whereas Sankhya of that Kapila Muni is something different. Sankhya has something to do with Sankhya. What is Sankhya?
Number.
Sankhya means number. Sankhyayante Atma Gunani or Atma Tattvani. That is what is called Sankhyam. Sankhyayante, that is all these Atma Tattvas, they are all enumerated there. So Sankhya means, in a sense, enumeration, probably we may call it. Suddenly this word is coming to me, I have not thought of it. But then yes, enumeration in a sense we may call it. Sankhyayante, all these things are enumerated. So what these Sankhya people have done is, they have enumerated right from this, right, as we say this Brahma, this Maya, and then Maya, this five, say these three gunas and five elements, and these five elements, this initially in the shape of tanmatras, then again pancha gross elements, and then again what all these bodies and whatnot, Mahat, that cosmic intellect, and from that cosmic intellect all these individual intellects called jivas. So some sort of hierarchy we derive. This similar hierarchy, most similar hierarchy is also given by those people, by the Sankhyas. There is what is called Purusha at the level, at the supreme level. And then at just below Purusha is what is called Prakriti. This Prakriti we equate it with Maya in Vedanta. There Purusha is totally Asanga. Here again Brahma is also Asanga. But then Purusha has Bhoktrutvam in Sankhya. In Vedanta, Purusha has no Kartrutva, no Bhoktrutva. And all this thing is an appearance in that Purusha or Brahman. Whereas in Sankhya, Purusha is a Bhokta, and number two, Prakriti has independent existence. Whereas Vedanta does not accept independent existence for Prakriti. So this is the basic difference between Sankhya and Vedanta. And another important contribution of Vedanta, the Sankhyas, which all the Vedantins they accept and acknowledge, is that these are the first people, let us say, not fellows, who have clearly made a distinction between Druk and Drushya. So this is Druk and this Druk, that is intelligence, is something which is different, and Drushya is something different. But then they said that and this both are there. So that is all said and done. At a final stage it is duality. Whereas Vedanta doesn't talk about duality, it talks about the non-dual intelligence which is manifesting as matter. Whereas Sankhyas, they say intelligence also is there, matter also is there. So that is the basic difference between these two. And the main contribution of this Sankhya is that Druk Drushya Viveka. So this is what we have to remember. Then Kapila Muni is supposed to be the propounder of that Sankhya Siddhanta. And then Sankhya, like you have got Sankhya, what is this Brahma Sutras, you have got Yoga Sutra, various sutras are there. We have got this sutra tradition, isn't it? So similarly, Kapila's Sankhya Sutras also are supposed to be there. There is a book, but then some people say it is probably it is not by that Kapila, probably it is reconstructed at a later date, we are not sure of it. But there is another book called Sankhya Karika. Ishvara Krishna is one particular philosopher who was there in the 1st century BC. Ishvara Krishna. And then his Sankhya Karikas, they became so popular at that time. That was the most dominant philosophy at that time. That 1st century BC, around that time, this Sankhya Siddhanta was so predominant that the Sankhya Karikas were also translated into Tibetan, and then from Tibetan to Chinese and all that. So that was the power of that particular philosophy at that time. So anyway, we are not very sure whether we are referring to that Kapila Muni here or some other Kapila, because in Bhagavatam there is another Kapila Muni. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a Kapila Muni who is again a Siddha, and then his mother, her name is Devahuti. There is a very important chapter called Kapila Devahuti Samvada in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kapila Devahuti Samvadam, wherein this Kapila, he teaches Brahmagyanam to his mother. That is a very elaborate passage. Again, the same content, of course, content will be same everywhere, Atma Jnana. So that Kapila is there in, Bhagavatam. Then there is another Kapila Muni whom we also find in, Ramayana also, where the other day we were talking about this Sagaraha. This Sagara is an ocean into which all those 60,000 sons of all those Sagara Muni, they went, not Sagara King Sagara, they went and dug up the whole, ocean. So there, that Kapila Muni was the one who was doing tapas, and then who gives a curse to all these people when they go and disturb his tapas, and also accuse him of stealing that yajna Ashwa, that horse which was part of that yajna. So that Kapila Muni also is there in Ramayana. So there are several Kapila Munis if we go through our Purana, and of course our basic problem is nobody has done great research into the Puranas. When somebody teaches Ramayana, okay, you teach this story in a very, very colorful way. When you teach Bhagavatam, you teach that story in a very colorful and picturesque manner. And then when you come to what is this Kapila story, Sankhya, okay, you again give a very picturesque account of it. But then we are not trying to have a perspective, and then we are not trying to see whether this man is different or... But anyway, we will leave all that. But this is referring to that particular, one such Kapila. We cannot be very sure which Kapila it is. So, Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Then, so this is the shloka. We will see the Bhashyam. Bhashyam again is very simple because, as I said in the last class, all these things were matters of general knowledge only 2 generations ago, about 40-50 years ago. All these things were matters of general knowledge. A Kapila means we need not go and tell anybody. Even an ordinary man, he knew, because even an ordinary villager also, he heard so many things from various teachers who were doing all these pravachans in villages and towns. So Shankaracharya did not find it necessary to comment on these things. Where is it? Ashvatha sarvavrukshanam devarshinaam cha naradaha deva eva santaha rushitvam praptaha mantra darshitvat ete devarshayah tesham naradosmi. He is just explaining the meaning of devarshi. What is the meaning of devarshi? We know that humans are there, demons are on one side, and then devas are on another side. So while being deva, he is also a mantra drashta. We refer to rishis. Who is a rishi? The meaning of rishi is a mantra drashta. The people who have given us the Vedas, the Samhita portion where all these mantras are contained. So all these mantras, they do have a rishi. Vishwamitra Rishi, Savita Devata, Gayatri, Shandaha, you say. So like that, whenever you chant a mantra, initially you tell about the Rishi, Devata, all these things, Chandas and all these things. Suppose you recite a particular mantra, there is a Rishi, there is a particular Devata, there is a particular Chandas. So all these things are told. Bijam, Kielakam and whatnot we all say. So all these people who have visualized, who had that vision of those mantras, who had the vision, because in their tapas, they had a vision of all these mantras. And these people are called rishis. Rishayaha. Rishi actually means darshana, that is vision. So all these people who had a vision of those mantras are called rishis. So while being a deva, he is also a rishi. So such people are called devarshayaha. Deva eva santaha means while being devas, rushitvam praptaha, they attained that rushitvam because mantra darshitvat, because they have seen the mantras. Seen means they have had the vision of that. Yete devarshayah. Then Gandharvanam chitrarathaha. Chitraratho nama. Gandharvosme. Siddhanam. Janmanaiva. Dharma jnana vairagya aishwaryatishayam praptanam. Kapilo munihi. Okay. Siddhanam. Who are these siddhas? They are the people who have got the knowledge of dharma, jnana, vairagya, aishwarya, atishayam. So they have got all these things. They have got this knowledge of Atma Jnana. In addition to Atma Jnana, they also know dharma. Dharma is, that is for the social order, that is for the world order. Dharma is something which holds the society together. Dharanat dharma uchyate, we know that definition. That is that which holds the society from disintegrating. That is what is called dharma. So dharma, these people are knowledgeable in dharma, they know jnana, they are vairagya, aishwaryatishayam. Aishwaryam does not refer to money here. Aishwarya actually means their own, by virtue of the fact that they do not require anything, they do not need anything, they have cast away everything. Even if you give some kingdom, a huge kingdom also, he is not bothered about it. So that means he is richer than the king. So from that sense, we have to take it as Aishwarya, Ishwarasya Bhavam. That is, he is one with that Brahman. So that is what is called Aishwarya. So Sandhyavandana mantras also, not Sandhyavandana, in Devata Puja, we also have one mantra. Samrajyam, Bhojyam, Swarajyam, Vairajyam, Parameshtyam, Rajyam. We say some such mantra while doing some harati. There is in one tradition. So what is all that? Swarajyam, Vairajyam, all these things they are referring to your own mastery of all those levels. By one level to another level to another level, you are mastering all that, and then you are identifying with that cosmic self first, and then you are again identifying with Brahman, and you are losing your identity. So that is the level, that is the meaning of Swarajyam, Vairajyam, etc. So here the meaning of Aishwarya should not be taken as huge wealth. It should be taken as Vairagya Aishwaryam. This is Aishwaryam because of Vairagyam. Even if you give some, the whole world as under his rule, he doesn't want it because he is much beyond it. So he is much beyond it. So that is the meaning of Aishwarya. Aishwarya Atishayam. Atishayam means there again that unparalleled state. So that Praptanam. So they have attained all that. So among them he is the Kapilaha Muni. Then let us see the next shloka. Uchchaishravasam Shravasam Viddhimam Amrutodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam cha Naradhipam. So here again there are four things which are told. Uchchaishravasam Ashwanam. Ashwanam means among the horses. Uchchaishravasa. Uchchaishravasam is one horse. Uchchaishravasa is one horse which was born at the time of this Amruta Manthan. You know the story of Amruta Manthan. These gods and demons in Puranas. I am not talking about the Vedantic interpretation of Amruta Mathanam. Vedantic interpretation of Amruta Mathanam is Devas are your own good ideas, purified, pure ideas, and then Asuras are your own impure ideas. Their constant battle in the mind is Adhyatmika Sangrama. Anudinam Vartamanaha Adhyatmika Sangramaha. That is what Shankaracharya says. So that Adhyatmika Sangrama, that internal war between the good and bad. So that is Amruta Mathanam, that is a different thing. We are talking about the Puranic interpretation, Puranic story. In that Puranic story, okay, gods are there, demons are there, they keep fighting. And then they both come together for a common, to achieve a common thing. That is, they want to churn that milk ocean. And then after churning that milk ocean, all these things are very symbolic. For churning that milk ocean, they have to come together. And then they find a huge snake called Vasuki. That Vasuki also we are going to get. They find a huge snake. And then the Rakshasas, these people are asked to hold the head portion, whereas the Devas are holding the tail portion. And then they churn that ocean. And while they churn that ocean, of course we know that Amrutam comes in the end, but before Amrutam comes, there are lot many things, side products. So there are so many side products or byproducts. So all these byproducts, one of the byproducts is one Ashvam. Another byproduct is one Airavatam, Gajendranam, this third line, the second line. There are only 3 points, 3 things mentioned here. Ashwa is one, Gajam, that elephant is one, and Naranam cha Naradhipam, king. So these 3 things are mentioned in this shloka. So anyway, one of the byproducts is the horse, that is Uchchaishravasam. Another byproduct is Airavatam, which is mentioned in the second line. Airavatam Gajendranam. Among all the elephants, this Airavatam is the elephant which has come out of that thing. There are several other things which come. For instance, Dhanvantari comes out. Dhanvantari is the god of medicine. The god of medicine, he comes out, and then he is the person who is supposed to, that is why we say all these Ayurveda texts, they talk about this Dhanvantari. So Dhanvantari is supposed to be the originator of Ayurveda. Then along with that, one more very, very famous thing is Lakshmi. Lakshmi comes out. Before Lakshmi comes out, I think before or after, Lakshmi comes out. Lakshmi is taken by Vishnu. Then poison comes, halahalam. Poison comes, and poison is taken by Shiva. And Shiva keeps that whole poison in his gullets, in his throat. Then again, at last, Amrutam comes. So before Amrutam comes, all these things are small things which have come out, including Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, who is supposed to be the consort of, Vishnu. So anyway, Uchchaishravasam Ashwanam Vidhi Mam Amrutodbhavam. Vidhi means you know, Janihi, no, Mam Amrutodbhavam. That is, in that process, Amruta Udbhavam. That is not born from Amruta. In the process of attaining that Amruta, it is also obtained. In the process of that churning, this Ashwa also has come out. Ashwa is one product. Then the next line says, Airavatam Gajendranam. Airavatam is another byproduct of the same churning of that milk ocean. Then Naranam cha Naradhipam. Naranam. Nara means human beings. Naranam, among the human beings, I am the king. So this is one thing which we have to see. The king in olden days, he was supposed to be the sort of reincarnation of Vishnu. King was supposed to be a sort of reincarnation, because probably this theory was advocated so that there is every day, otherwise there will be a revolt every day. Every day there will be a revolt against that king to displace that king. So like our democracy today. Democracy, okay, it is the best form, there is absolutely no doubt about it. Democracy is with all its ills and with all its things, this is the best form of government one can have. But still, in olden days, we had very many cases of very many benevolent rulers. We also had some cases of bad rulers, not only in India but throughout the world. So, okay, coming to this Naranam cha Naradipam, the king was supposed to be the reincarnation, as I said. There is also a Smruti says, Nan Rushih Kurute Kavyam Nagandharva Surupa Budhrut. The last line is, Na Vishnu Pruthivi Patihi. Na Avishnuhu Pruthivi Patihi. That line is, Na Vishnu Pruthivi Patihi. Na, there is an avagraha. Na Vishnu Pruthivi Patihi means, Na Avishnuhu Pruthivi Patihi means, one who is not a Vishnu is not a Prithivipati. That means a Prithivipati or a king is Vishnu. He is the reincarnation of Vishnu. So that is what it means. So that was the idea. And also at the time of coronation, there is what is called Abhishekam. A king, whenever he was anointed, it was called Abhishekam. And in that Abhishekam, if you see the mantras which you in this Smruti text, we have got this Smruti text, Manusmruti, Parashara Smruti, etc., etc., etc. Particularly, there is another Smruti called, which is a very, very elaborate, what is that? Veeramitrodayam. The book's name is Veeramitrodayam. Veeramitrodayam is another, Smruti text. There, it gives very elaborate mantras from this Atharvana Veda. Atharvana Veda, we know, it contains many practical applications of this Vedic mantras for various mundane situations. Various mundane situations, like a king is going for war. So then some mantras are taken, and then those mantras are applied here by these purohits. The king has to be coronated, Abhishekam is taking place. In that Abhishekam, what all mantras have to be taken, and there is a very elaborate procedure for those things. So all those things are described in that Veeramitrodayam. This is again a Dharma Shastra Grantha. There is an elaborate procedure where all these purohits, they come together, and then all these people, they invoke this Amsha, or the power of all these deities. We have got these prominent deities like Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, etc., etc. All these Dig Devatas, all their Amsha, all their powers are invoked into the king. So that is one elaborate process where the king also feels he is highly responsible. Even if the fellow was a useless fellow earlier, he feels highly responsible and highly, say, elevated, and then at least for that sake, he will try to behave in a responsible way. So anyway, so this king was, all the powers of all the gods was invoked into the king. So that was the thing. And in fact, this so-called, the divine incarnation, it is not only in our tradition. In English tradition, if we see the European tradition also, there is what is called the divine right of kings. The divine right of kings, all this, if you see the English history, you must have read some European history and all that. There was always a tussle between the king and the parliament. The parliament always challenged the divine right of kings. Right up to the 17th century or so, the Europeans, they believed in this divine right of kings. These kings, until that fellow was Charles I or somebody was, say, decapitated, till that time. So they had that idea of this divine right of kings. So this is a common belief in olden days. But anyway, here of course, Krishna is saying, Naranam cha Naradhipam. King, this person who is incarnated as a king, he is my, say, avatara, my representative, or something like, or my, not exactly incarnation, I am manifesting in that form. So that is it. So let us read the Bhashyam. Uchchaishravasam Ashvanam. Uchchaishravanama Ashvaha. Nama Ashvaha. Uchchaishravanama Ashvaha. That means then the Ashva or horse which is named as Uchchaishrava. Uchchaishrava literally means that which Shravam means sound. Uchchaihi means very heavy, high sound. That is probably the neighing of the horse was so powerful or so high. Maybe that is the meaning, literal meaning of Uchchaishrava is that. Shrava is sound. Shrava also means fame. Uchchaishrava also means highly famous. That also it can be there. Or its neighing was so powerful that also can be taken. So that is the Ashvaha. Tam mam vidhi janihi. Amrutodbhavam. Amruta nimitta mathanodbhavam. So Amrutodbhavam does not mean it is born from Amruta. Amruta nimitta mathana. So it is born from that churning which is for securing that Amruta. This byproduct is this Uchchaishrava. Then Airavatam. Iravatyaha apatyam. Gajendranam Hastishwaranam. Tam mam vidhi. Ityanuvartate. Okay, Airavatam. Iravatyaha apatyam. Iravati is the mother of that Airavata. Iravata is the name, like Dasharatha and Dasharathi, Vasudeva and Vasudeva, Iravati and Airavatam. So these are called Tadhita Pratyayas. Airavatam, Iravatyaha apatyam. Apatyam means child, offspring. Apatyam. Gajendranam, Hastishwaranam. Among all these, say, mighty elephants, Hastishwaranam, Gajendra, Gaja plus Indra. That means Indra among the Gajas, or Ishvara among the Hastis. That means the mighty elephants. So that in that sense we have to take. Among them, that is this Airavatam. Then Tam Mam Vidhi. You know that I am that. Then Naranam Manushyanam. Manushyanam cha. Naradhipam Rajanam. Mam Vidhi Janihi. Okay, among the humans, you know me as the king. Naradhipam Mam Vidhi. You know me as that. So that is for the king. Of course, we have to take that explanation only, because that in those days, the divine, say, incarnation of kings was something which is accepted. So that is why we have this lunar race and the solar race. If you see Puranas, in those Puranas, they talk about the solar race and also the lunar race. That Surya Vamsha and Chandra Vamsha. So all these kings are supposed to be descendants of those two lines. Anyway, next line, next shloka. Ayudhanam aham vajram. Dhenunam Kamadhuk. Prajanascha Kandarpaha.
Prajanaschasmi Kandarpaha.
Sarpanam-asmi Vasukihi.
Sarpanam-asmi Vasukihi.
So in this shloka again 4 things are told. One is Vajram. The other is that cow, Kamadhenu. The third one is Kandarpa, the Manmatha, or the equivalent of Cupid in, say, the Greek or Roman mythology. Then Sarpanam-asmi Vasukihi. Vasuki is another mighty snake. So these 4 things are told. So this Vajram, Ayudhanam aham Vajram. Vajram, Vajra Ayudham. Vajram, the normal meaning of Vajram is diamond. But in Purana sense, Vajram is that Vajra Ayudham. Ayudham is a weapon. And this weapon, whose weapon is this? Indra's weapon is this Ayudham. This is a very, very well-known thing. And Indra, he killed, whom did he kill? He killed a demon called Vrutrasura. Vrutrasura was a great demon at that time. And then Vrutra, the meaning of Vrutra also we have to see. Vrutra means Avrunoti iti Vrutraha. One who shrouds, one who clouds your mind, one who is the cause of Ajnana. Vrutrasura actually means Ajnana. Devendra represents knowledge, or at least the seeker of knowledge, and then this Vrutrasura represents Ajnana, that which clouds our judgment, clouds our thinking, that which covers Avarana, Avrunoti iti Vrutraha. So this Vajram, again there is a small story. I think in some context I told this story also earlier. There was a Rishi called Dadhichi, a very famous Rishi, and say that Dadhichi was a very, very highly spiritually attained, such a great jnani, and that man had done such great tapas that all these devatas, they go to him and then they do request him. This particular Vrutrasura will die only by some weapon which is made out of your bones. So this man, okay, for the sake of when accepting that God's request, he leaves his body, and then once he leaves his body, his vertebral column is taken as the weapon. His vertebral column, that Dadhichi's vertebral column, is this Vajra Ayudham. And other bones are taken away by some other deities that we need. I don't know the details. Of course, that also is there in the Puranas. So, but the main vertebral column is taken by Indra. And vertebral column, what does it symbolize? Sushumna Nadi. You have become an expert. Vertebral column. Because we have seen in Kathoparishad and all these things, Shatam Chaika, Hrudayasya Nadya, etc., etc. So this Sushumna Nadi again represents Kundalini, awakening of Kundalini. All these things, of course, though Vedanta does not give high prominence to all this yogic system of Kundalini awakening and whatnot, definitely Vedanta teaches somehow, not somehow, Vedanta, in the Vedantic scheme of things, Brahmajnana is the only thing. And Brahmajnana cannot be attained merely by yoga. Brahmajnana cannot be attained by this Kundalini, etc., etc. But Brahmajnana is attained only by Viveka, by Vichara, proper Vichara, Nitya, Anitya Vastu Viveka, Atma, Anatma Vichara, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam. So that is the Vedantic concept. But we are now in Purana level. So at this Purana level also, so we have to see that Kundalini again at that level represents Jnana only. Kundalini in that Purana level, the yogi who is supposed to have attained all these yogic powers and whatnot, he achieves that Kundalini power. He breaks through all this Brahma Grandhi, Rudra Grandhi, what is this Vishnu Grandhi, Rudra Grandhi, etc., etc. And then he attains the moksham. So that is what this process says. So that way this Vajram represents knowledge. So with this knowledge, he is supposed to have, Indra is supposed to have killed that demon called Vrutrasura. Vrutrasura, that is ignorance. Vrutrasura symbolizes ignorance. Vajrayuda represents knowledge, Kundalini and all that. And Indra is the person who is that the king of gods. Gods means all positive, not positive, all virtuous. This Sattvika Gunas, all these Sattvika Gunas, Indra is the representative, isn't it? So our own Shastrodbhasita Indriya Vrutaya, they are the gods. So all our own chitta vrittis which are purified by the study of scriptures, they are the gods. So for all those gods, he is the chief. And then this particular chief is taking a vajram called knowledge, and then with that knowledge he is attacking a demon called ignorance and then defeating it. So that is the symbolism here. Ayudhanam aham vajram, dhenunam asmi kamadhuk. There is one kamadhenu. There is one kamadhenu. Kamadhenu, originally it is supposed, kamadhenu means that which gives whatever you want. A particular cow, a sacred cow, which gives you whatever you want. So again, in the Puranas, again we see that this Kamadhenu was originally in heaven, and this was given to sage Vasishtha, and then sage Vasishtha, he uses it say basically for maintaining his ashram, because in those days all these big munis or all these rishis, they used to have thousands of students, and all those thousands of students had to be fed. So for all those people, this Dhenu used to give all the food, whatever they wanted, all those things were supplied by this Dhenu. So that was the speciality of this Dhenu. So then again there is a big story between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra. We need not go into that. In Ramayanam, the Balakanda, in the very first volume of Ramayana, you find that particular struggle between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra forcibly tries to take away, and then this Dhenu, it creates many soldiers from out of its body, and then all these soldiers, they come out and then they defeat Vishwamitra's king, Vishwamitra's army. Vishwamitra was a king, you know. Vishwamitra, to start with, was a king. He was a mighty emperor of the same solar race. And then when he tries to snatch away his enemy, all his army was vanquished by that. And then ultimately Vishwamitra realizes that he cannot defeat Vasishtha by physical power. So he has to attain all this Shama, Dama, etc., etc., etc. And then he has to purify himself. He has to wash all his Rajoguna. All his Rajoguna has to disappear from his mind. And then he becomes equal at a spiritual level. He becomes equal to Vasishtha. Then there is no question of defeating. At that time, Vasishtha himself goes to him and then says, okay, now you have attained this Brahmarshitva, you get up. So then they become friends. There is no question of defeating, because there is a Jnani meeting another Jnani. So till this man was not a Jnani, he was trying to defeat him. So once he also became a Jnani, once he realizes they are all, the Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, there is no distinction between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, there is no question of defeating. So then they become friends. So that is the story of say Ramayana. That is the story which you find in Ramayana, and the story of this Kamadhenu. Of course, Kamadhenu, there are several other stories also. So this is one prominent story which we find in Ramayana. So this, among the Dhenus, I am that Dhenu. Then Prajanashchasmi Kandarpaha. Here, of course, in all other things you find this Shashti Bahuvachanam, Ayudhanam, among the weapons, Dhenunam, among the say cows. But here, of course, there is no Shashti Tatpurusha. Here simply it is said, I am that progenitor named Kandarpa. Prajanascha asmi, Prajananam, he is not saying. Prajanascha asmi Kandarpaha. I am the progenitor. Prajanaha means Prajapati. The creators, among the creators, I am this Kandarpa. Kandarpa is the name for Manmatha. Manmatha is the equivalent of that Cupid whom we find in Western, say mythology. Cupid is a chap, a child with wings and all that. He also has some arrows, and then he shoots arrows into your mind and your girlfriend's mind, so that you fall in love. So that is what is the role of Kandarpa. So Manmatha also does the same thing, and we know the story of this Manmatha. And Manmatha, who got burnt by the flames coming out of the eye of that Shiva, because he tried to shoot an arrow on Shiva and then generate this Kama in his mind. And then of course Parvati is always there. Parvati, she was already enamored of Shiva at a physical level. So the story, the symbolism which we found in that story, which we saw in that story, was the man-woman relationship should be built on pure love and not on lust. So that was the theme of Shiva Parvati Kalyanam. So that we have seen there. So among these progenitors, among the creators, I am that Kandarpa. So Kandarpa should be the first important person, isn't it? He should create that love between man and woman. Only then there will be some creation. So anyway, Prajanascha Kandarpaha, Sarpanam Vasukihi. Among the Sarpas, I am the Vasuki. Vasuki, again I told you, Vasuki, you find this character in Mahabharatam also, Vasuki. Then again, here again, just now in the Amrita Mathan, I told about the huge snake called Vasuki, which was used for churning that milk ocean. So this Vasuki is a very famous snake whom we find in these Puranas. So these four things are mentioned here. Let us see this. Ayudhanam aham vajram dadhicyasthi sambhavam mam vidhi dhenunam dogdhrinam asmi kamadhuk vasishthasya sarvakamanam dogdhri samanyava kamadhuk. Okay. Ayudhanam aham vajram. Among the ayudhas I am that vajram. Dadhichi asthi sambhavam. Dadhichi asthi sambhavam. Asthi means bone. Asthi sambhavam means born, built from that bones. From that bones I have been made. Dadhichi asthi sambhavam. Of that Dadhichi Rishi. Then dhenunam dogdhrinam. Dogdhri means that which gives milk is a dogdhi. Dohanam. Dugo dohanam. Dohanam means milking a cow. Dogdhri means that which gives, that which milks. He is called a dogdhri. Dogdhrinam. Aham kamadhuk. I am that kamadhuk, kamadhenu. Vasishthasya sarvakamanam dogdhri. According to that story, whatever Vasishtha was asking, whatever was needed for Vasishtha, it was giving. So that is it. Or otherwise, samanya va means or samanya kamadhuk, or any other kamadhenu. Maybe some other kamadhenus were also there at that time, because we find some other kamadhenu also in Raghuvamsham. If you have read Raghuvamsha of Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha, if you have seen, there is a second sarga. The first sarga itself, of course, this Dileepa, King Dileepa goes to heaven once, not after dying. While being alive only, he goes to heaven as a guest of King Indra. And then while returning, he forgets to salute that Kamadhenu, which was there somewhere in that heaven. And then that Kamadhenu, it gives him a small curse. So curse again, it should not be taken as something which is the intemperance on the part of that Kamadhenu. It should be taken as somebody teaching you good conduct and good behavior. So in that context we have to understand. We should not say that, oh, that Kamadhenu is bad, that Kamadhenu gave a curse and whatnot. Kamadhenus, it is the responsibility of an elder to teach, say good conduct to the youngster. Youngster, suppose the youngster is not following good conduct. It is the duty of the father or mother to tell. So from that point of view, that cow gave a small curse. Okay, you will not get a child. Then this fellow again, he again goes to this sage Vasishtha, and then finds out what is the reason why he was not getting, this child. And then again Vasishtha says, no, you have done some apachara. You have insulted that Kamadhenu once. So what you have to do is you get its child. Its child is there, and then you please get it, and then you serve it for some time, and then you please it. Then you will get a child. So he does the same thing. So that means Kamadhenu's child, one small cow, he gets, and then he serves it for some time, and then that cow is pleased, and then he gets a son and whatnot. That is a long story. So this is very, very well described in the second sarga of Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha. So anyway, why I told this was, Samanyava Kamadhuk means not only one Kamadhenu, there must have been some other Kamadhenus like this in some Puranas if we see. So okay, next, Prajanaha Prajanayita Asmi Kandarpaha Kamaha. So Kandarpa means that is Kamaha. Kamaha means that god Manmatha. The very meaning of Manmatha is, what is that meaning of Manmatha? One who churns the mind is Samudra Manthanam, we know, that is churning the Samudram or ocean. Manmatha is churning the mind. Manmatha, manaha mathnati iti manmatha. It churns our mind. If you fall in love, you will know that your mind is totally churned. So that is what is called manmatha. So the other name is kamaha. Prajanayita asmi kandarpaha. I am that kandarpa who is prajanayita. Janayati is one who produces, one who creates, one who gets, begets offspring or begets children. That is called prajanayita. So among them, I am that kandarpa. Then sarpanam, sarpabhedanam, asmi vasukihi sarparajaha. So this Vasuki was a Sarparaja. Sarpanam, Sarpabhedanam. Sarpa and Naga, both are snakes only. Sarpa is one type of snakes. The next shloka is going to talk about Naga. Then what is the difference between Sarpa and Naga? The one Sridhara Bhashya says, Naganam Nirvishanam. Sridhara Bhashyam says, of course, the other people have not given the difference between Sarpa and Naga, whereas Sridharacharya has given the meaning that Nagas are Nirvishaha, that is, they are poisonless. Sarpas are poisonous. So that is the difference. So this Vasuki which we are talking about is something which is poisonous. This Naganam, this Nagas, they are supposed to be poisonless. So that is the difference between these two, which is mentioned by Sridharacharya. So Sarpanam asmi Vasukihi. Sarpabhedanam, among those, a particular category of serpent. Serpent, the many meaning of serpent also is a sarpati. Sarpa means to just crawl. Sarpati. Sarpanti is serpent. So that is very, very close to, say that that English word is so close to Sanskrit word only. Sarpati, Sarpanti is serpent. So anyway, the next shloka. Anantaschasmi naganam Varuno yadasamaham Pitrunam aryamaschasmi Aryamachasmi Yamas sanyamatamahamam Yama samyamati samyak yamati sanyamatam aham. Okay. Then Anantaschasmi Naganam. So in the earlier shloka we talked about Sarpas. Sarpa is serpent. Naga is again another say type of serpent or snake which is poisonless. So among these things Anantaha cha asmi. So Anantascha asmi Naganam. Varunaha Yadasamaham. Among all these water deities, water deities, let us say, among those people, I am that Varuna. Then Pitrunam Aryama Chasmi. Among all these Pitru Devatas, I am what is called Aryama. Then Yamaha Samyamata Maham. Among all the police related people, that is Samyamata Maham. Yamaha means one who disciplines. Yamayati iti Yamaha. Yamayati means one who disciplines. All drill masters. All drill masters are army chieftains or something like that. All drill masters, let us say. Among all those people who discipline, I am that Yama. Because Yama is the person. Okay, we will come to that again. So, Yamaha Samyamata Maham. Among all the people who discipline others, I am that Yama. So, let us come to this first one. Anantaschasmi Naganam. Among the Nagas, I am the Ananta. Ananta, if you know the story of Vishnu, Vishnu relaxes on a huge serpent in that, say, Kshirasagara, isn't it? That Kshirasagara, he relaxes on a huge serpent. And if you see that, that pictures of Vishnu also, there is a huge serpent which is coiled round. And then the huge hood, several hoods are there. And in the under the shade of those several hoods, Lord Vishnu is just relaxing while Lakshmi also is sitting there and all that. Ananta Padmanabha. Okay. So this Ananta, that is the snake. Ananta. Ananta is the snake which is supposed to be the say bed for Lord Vishnu. Then Varunaha Yadasamaham. Ananta, is there any particular story or anything? Ananta. There is no particular story. Of course, Ananta, there may be some stories. I am not right now having any such story. Ananta is only that particular snake. And snake is something which you find with almost all gods. Don't you see that? Shiva is there. Shiva has a snake around his head. Then Vishnu has a snake. Then if you see Lord, Narasimha Swami, again there is a huge, elephant. A huge snake. So all these gods, they are associated with some snake or the other. Snake actually symbolizes the yoga. Yoga Shakti is symbolized by this thing called snake. Because snake is called a Vayu Bhakshaka. That is, it can survive on air for a long time. It need not have food. It just survives on air only. It just breathes air and survives. And then survives for a long time. So that is why it is called, this yoga. Patanjali also is there. Patanjali is supposed to be a reincarnation of this Adishesha. This Ananta, the another name for Ananta is Adishesha. Adishesha means the original Shesha. So this Ananta is supposed to be, the reincarnation. Patanjali is supposed to be the reincarnation of this Ananta. Then another reincarnation whom we find in this Puranas is whenever Vishnu takes birth, takes a reincarnation on earth, these things also they come along with him. This Ananta also comes across, for example, comes along. Then we see in Ramayana that Rama is, Vishnu takes birth as Rama. Then there is another chap, Lakshmana. Who is this Lakshmana? Lakshmana is Shesha Avataram. Shesha Avataram, that is Ananta's Avataram only is Lakshmana. Then Shankha Chakras, they are born as Shatrughna and Bharata Shatrughna. So that is what we see in Ramayana. So like that in some other incarnations also, these people also they come along with Lord Vishnu. So that is supposed to symbolize this yoga power. In yoga basically involves pranayama, breathing and then breath control, and then these things only, mainly they are there. By this conscious breath control and all that, we control the unconscious mind. The basic principle in that yogic practices is, for somebody whose mind is not already disciplined, this is one way of disciplining the mind. Yoga is a way of disciplining the mind by consciously regulating or controlling the breathing habits. So by breathing in a particular specified manner, you are controlling the mind. So that way this serpent or this snake represents yoga. So that is again one point which we have to see here. Anantaschasmi naganam varunaha yadasam aham. Yadasaha is water deity. That is what Shankaracharya has, that is the meaning given by Shankaracharya. Yadasam, among all those water deities, I am this Varuna. Varuna we know. Varuna is the rain god. Normally that is what is the rain god. And Varuna is supposed to derive all the water because of the sun's rays. So that is why Varuna is supposed to be dependent on Surya. Then in the evening Sandhya Vandan, while doing that Surya Upasthanam. Surya Upasthanam is while sending away while bidding farewell to sun. In the Pratha Surya Upasthanam, Mitrasya Jashani, we say that mantra. In the evening Surya Upasthanam, we don't say Varuna Upasthanam, we say Surya Upasthanam only. Surya Upasthanam, what is that thing we say? Imam me Varuna Shrudhi Havamadhya Achamrodaya, we say, isn't it? So that mantra is about Varuna. Whereas we are talking about Surya Upasthanam. You are calling it Surya but referring to Varuna. Thereby meaning that Surya and Varuna are not two different things. Varuna actually is deriving what all water he needs. He is deriving it only through Surya. So that is why we say Surya Upasthanam and we recite that Varuna mantra. So this Varuna is the wind god, water god or rain god. He is the chieftain among all those rain related deities, water related deities. He is the chief. And I am that. So if the time is over, we will continue in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate పూర్ణస్య పూర్ణమాదాయ పూర్ణమేవావశిష్యతే. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి.